morning, Navitor members. We are so honored to have you here today. We are starting today with our most requested webinar of all time. This is for the company Estores. It's a big day. We're excited about this. This is how to dominate the print game through company Estores. So some of these stores that you might hear about are for resellers, and some are for your end clients. And today's topic, we're really going to focus on how you serve e-commerce to your end clients. So that's the kind of store that we're talking about here today. My name is Stephanie Drago. I've been in this industry for 11 years and working e-commerce and marketing for over 20. And before I introduce our speakers, I'm going to get us started here with a poll. I'll get that rolling and let you guys kind of fill that in as we go through the speakers. So first up is Erica Kelly. She is our e-commerce guru. She's been on all sides of the web. 12 years in e-com, and she's been in international marketing for 20 years as well. So she's one of the masterminds behind some of the big changes on Navatorre.com. So we're all pretty pumped about that one. Welcome, Erica.
Thank you. I've also had the opportunity to experience entrepreneurship. So the last 3 years has been great experiencing that, which has allowed me to combine my marketing experience with a small business mindset. So we will touch on that later today. But thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think that's totally going to be true. And I've seen that come to fruition already. So Erica, I'm glad to have you here today. And Harris Mailman, you are our print and technology account specialist who's been driving this industry for over a decade. So really glad to have you here today. I've seen some of your impressive expertise, insights, and kind of how you navigate between the resellers' needs, the end customer needs. I mean, it can definitely get complex. And like you were saying before, those are actually your favorite sites, are the most complex ones. So welcome, Harris.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's probably my favorite thing to talk about here at Navitor. This is actually my third straight webinar, I believe. So I'm starting to feel like I'm getting a little bit typecasted here. But I'm really glad that my 4 years of broadcast journalism is finally starting to pay off.
Making mom proud there, I think.
Very.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we're so glad to have you here. And I definitely noticed that on your resume when we brought you in. I was like, oh, this might be really good.
You only brought me in for that. I've known it all along.
Yeah, sales, you know, whatever, but webinar skills, that's it.
Broadcast journalism.
We're glad to have you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Harris. All right, my goal at the end of this 30 minutes is for you to feel more confident in two things. So we're going to be focusing on finding the right client, number one, and number two, pitching the program. So we'll go through both. We'll show you a demo. You're going to see the details of this. You'll get resources as well so that you can bring forward those to your customers. 96% of our workshop attendees, just like yourselves, are reporting that these webinars make an impact on their business. So I say this every time, and I say, turn off your cell phone, shut down the distractions. And if you were like me, you probably just turn your phone upside down. Try to at least turn it on mute or put it outside the room, but really try to shut down those distractions and focus on your next e-commerce and profitability steps. And before I turn this over to Erica, I'm going to just share the results of the poll here. And it looks like we were asking, well, one of the questions we were asking was just, you know, what are you going to see in print growth this year? What is your business predicting? And so actually quite a lot of people, almost 80% are seeing 6+%. So that's pretty great. And 40% of you are thinking double digits. So that's really exciting. So we're in that neighborhood as well, thinking that there's a lot of opportunity with growth. So when you're seeing those numbers, whatever you're thinking print can do for your business, now try to think about, like, if I add an e-commerce in e-store on that, that's actually additional growth that you can get from your customers. So lots of opportunity here. Erica, I'll let you start then with some of the first steps. Erica?
Yes, thanks, Stephanie. Great. So let's talk about why you guys are all here. So we know you're here because you want to grow your business. You want to be able to grow those sales. So with that, let's talk about the pulse of your business, and that is your customer. So I personally know a lot about the different types of customers you may have just because of my experience in entrepreneurship. And that entrepreneurship, just giving you a little taste of what I've had, is experience in selling clean crafted wine. Clean crafted wine is basically wine that goes down smooth and allows you to wake up the next day, you know, being able to get your workouts in and do whatever you need to do. All right. So that's in a nutshell, my experience from entrepreneurship. But back to your customer and the types of customers that you have, there are two types, right? There's the customers that you already have, and there's the customers that you want to go get. And what I've learned through my experience, and you probably have too, is that it takes up to 5 times more in cost and in time to acquire those new customers. So what can we do to focus in on those customers you already have? All right, so I want you to think about a brand or a service or a company where it's your favorite. And I want you to think about why it's your favorite. So let's say maybe it's a restaurant down in the local area. They know you by name. It's kind of like a Cheers maybe, or maybe it's even a retail store. I know Costco Wholesale is one of my favorites. I mean, have you ever tried to return something there? They take food that's open, right? So that was my first experience with a Costco returning food. But if you can't think of one, we all know Amazon, right? So Amazon, you can buy something up to 2 clicks or less. Returns are so easy. I mean, they make it, where you can just drop it off at a Whole Foods or a Kohl's. And let's not forget about those last minute birthday gifts. How many people have used Amazon to buy birthday gifts? Right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Birthday, anything.
I love it. Chris Castle will take back some of your 1970s stuff, black and white TV. That's crazy.
I know, I saw that.
They're awesome. So, okay, getting back to that customer. So think of your favorite service company. Okay, so what do these all have in common? All right, they all reduce the F word. Okay, and it's not the one you're thinking about. It is friction. All right. These companies, these services that you go all the time, they reduce the friction to make you come back over and over again. So what can we do to allow these customers of yours, whether it's print or promotional, have them come back to your store over and over again? The solution is the Navatorre Estore. And so the Navatorre Estore, let's talk about that for a moment. We sell over $30,000 worth of orders per year just on these e-stores. And they allow, again, for your repeat customers to keep coming back. And that's because we're reducing that friction. And not to mention that web to print technology can increase that customer retention by up to 95%. And did you know that repeat customers can spend up to 33% more? That's something to say about just focusing in on those retention customers.
Yeah, for sure. Erica, I was just going to interrupt. The 30,000 orders, that's not dollars, that's orders per year. So you can see lots of opportunity there from resellers, lots of stores already in progress, lots of good stuff, 30,000 orders per year. So I think it's just something good to underscore, huh?
Yeah. Thank you for that. And so let's just talk about that survey that Stephanie had at the beginning of our intro here. A majority of you are, what was it, 80%? Yeah, 80% are expecting 6% or more in your print business this year. So maybe you're thinking, so how can I do that? Maybe you already have a plan in place, but let's talk about that here right now, since you are attending this webinar. And I want you to think about business cards, business cards, whether you're not selling print already, or maybe you are selling a little bit of print. Business cards is the product because it is the #1 and #2 product sold in the print industry. So if you're looking for a sign, this is it. We also sell signs. That's one of our popular items to sell as well. So, but if you think about business cards are something that are handed out over and over again. It's almost like, if you still use personal checks, right? It's just something you just want to order over and over again and you hand out. So some of the other products as they're shown here are, folders, you've got your labels and envelopes, of course, and even letterhead. So some of the benefits listed here are definitely helpful to increase, those sales with your repeat customers. But there is also something that is not even featured here, and that is being able to scale your business. Think about that for a moment. Are you currently trading your time for money? Okay, so these e-stores will allow you to almost have mini elves in the background, and they're focusing in on those existing customers so that you can focus on that other customer. Remember that other customer, those customers you're trying to get. So that is what the e-store is really great for. So moving on to some of the different resources that are out there for e-stores. You know, there are many other options out there, and some of our resellers have mentioned some of these popular names that are shown here. And I want you to think of this chart. You know, it's a busy chart, but I want you to think about your cell phone service for a moment. We all have our phones, right? And sometimes it comes to a time where you're like, do I really like AT&T? Do I really like T-Mobile? Right? So it just all depends on your preference, right? Maybe you want a family plan. Maybe you don't want to be in a long-term contract. So same thing here. These resources are here to provide you with an e-store service. It just depends on your needs, okay? And so just highlighting some of a few things here, you know, Navitor is really specialized in the print customer. So, you know, we offer up to 8,000 custom print and 1,500 print products. Whereas, you know, Distributor Central really focuses in on the promotional products. They serve up to and offer their customers up to 300,000 products. Okay. And, you know, talking about
huge.
Yeah, huge. I was like, you know, they even have like a filter feature where you kind of save your products, right? Because there's just so much to go through. And, you know, then you're talking about maybe the pricing models. They're all different. Again, thinking about that cell phone service, you know, ASI for one, they, you know, they require membership. So then they give you a monthly plan, but we're, you know, whereas at Navitor, you know, we offer a site setup fee, but we also give you a rebate. So you can certainly look at this and really decide for yourself which e-store resource is going to fit your needs. And here to take us further into the e-store experience, Harris will be guiding us through a demonstration.
Thanks, Erica. I appreciate it. Hi again, everyone. Want to start off by saying real quick that e-stores are my favorite offering at Navitor, and hence my favorite thing to talk about here. In one quick sentence, they're a win-win-win. We win, not that that really matters, but because we love electronic orders that go right to press. You win big because you're saving time processing small manual orders. And your customer wins really big because they have an easy to use yet robust online ordering platform customized for them with their print products and their logo, their banner, and their way. So before I continue my spiel, I want to stop real quick so Stephanie can show a brief demo of the site.
Sounds good. I'll get this rolling for us.
All right. So as all of you were able to see, ordering print on our e-store, and I'm sure other e-stores, is very easy. Depending on what you'd like, I just want to recap this real quick, right? Just because depending on what you'd like, adding users can be done right on the site. If you'd like, it can be done by you or your client's admin, or we can actually batch upload users during the site setup. All Navitor products are available for ordering. So that's corporate ID, marketing materials, name badges, wide format, folders, labels, everything we have. On the bottom right of the site, there's a generic user guide. There's terms of use, frequently asked questions, your contact information, all at the right bottom of the homepage. So customizable fields can be drop down, they can be static, or they could be completely open. Multiple products can be purchased on the same order. We can add a field for a PO number for billing accuracy. Order history is readily available for end users to check lead times and tracking. Your retail pricing will appear on the site. Proofs are electronic and can be printed or emailed right on the site. We can add or hide shipping methods, right? So if your client would rather have, would like next day air as an option, they do not have to send an email to request it. The dropdown will be right on the site. And so you have a different customer that wants nothing to do with overnight shipping to keep costs down. Expedited options will not appear. So before we get into the key selling points and qualifying, I want to talk about qualifying customers. It's so important to do so, but I do want to mention the fees because the e-stores do have fees. There is a $500 initial setup fee, which is rebated if $5,000 of spend is hit in the first year. There's also a $150 monthly licensing fee, which is waived as soon as $1,000 is spent on the site. And if you schedule a flash appraisal with one of our account specialists, we can really talk to you about, what it looks like to hit those numbers and get those fees waived. So let's talk about how these dollars can add up and to make sure that we're qualifying the right customer. So I spent 8 years selling direct for a very large print company, and they really trained us very, very well on qualifying. So since we were billed for the site and we never passed those costs on to the customer, it was really essential for us to know that the stores that we set up, that they would spend. So we qualified using 3 buckets: number of employees, the number of locations, and the number of products. So most customers start with those business cards. So let's do some math here. So at an average net cost of $15, a customer would have to order close to 100 times in order to hit $1,500. And that's a lot of cards. So if it's just business cards, they would need at least 100 employees ordering once a year to be safe to hit that $1,500. And you'd say, well, that's a lot of employees. I don't know how many accounts I have that have that number of employees. I don't know. I don't know that. And I would say, well, let's take a look at the number of locations. So envelopes and letterhead. Most customers order envelopes and letterhead. So if a customer has 10 locations and each location orders 2,500 total envelopes at a cost of $100, there's another $1,000 of spend right there. And then you double that with letterhead. So if you're still unsure, let's talk about the number of products, right? So if a site has 10 products and each product has an average spend of $250 per year, that's a total of $5,000. And there you go. This site is not for every customer, right? It's really for the right customer, those high volume customers. And I just want to say real quick, our account specialist here at Navitor, we can help you, right? We can help you qualify those e-stores. We do hundreds of flash appraisals a year that Stephanie will talk about later. All right. So let me pause real quick and throw about this back to Stephanie for some poll results.
Sounds good. So I'm going to get that started here. So we've got a question on the poll about customer fit and kind of matching and aligning to what Harris is talking about. So let's see what you guys can put into the polls here. You guys should be able to see that on your screen. And, just kind of underscoring what Harris was saying about the fees. Our goal is actually not to charge the fees. So most folks do not pay these. Most folks hit that $1,000 minimum spend a year. And so those licensing fees are waived. So the examples that he's showing here are, 1,500 in spend, 1,000 in spend, 2,500 in spend are very typical out in the wild, and none of them would be paying licensing fees. So, typically that's what we're seeing. And again, that's why we're going to take a lot of time to talk about the qualifications there. All right, so we've got a good poll results in there then. So sharing the results, it looks like there's about half of you who are not quite sure. I'm not quite sure if they have a customer fit yet. So let's spend a little more time going over some of those case studies and you'll see a little more there. But the rest, it looks like the majority or a little over half then of you guys are thinking that you have at least one good match. And over 7% of you are saying that you actually have multiple customers that could be a really good match. So I think, keep those in mind as we kind of dig into this a little bit further and as you learn a little bit more. At the end, like Harris said, we'll talk about those flash appraisals. We'll give you those links so that you can get started and really dig into the details. So Harris, I'll pass it back to you then.
Thanks, Steph. So you have your qualified customer, and I know that Erica talked about some benefits before. I just want to refresh on a couple of the benefits that I find really, really valuable. And the eStores save time. So everyone loves the example, right? You open your email and you get this scan of an envelope that has the crossed off address and the handwritten new address next to it. And then you double check on the fonts, you double check on the size, and then you have proofs back and forth. The email goes off to the vendor with a purchase order, and then you're checking on ETAs, you're checking on tracking for the order, right? This order that could have taken, 3 days to produce and ship has been 2 weeks because of all the edits, right? So, and that's all for mostly low dollar orders and no additional charges perhaps for your labor. So now you take that time, and that time can be bigger and better spent on bigger and better endeavors, right? So the time the end user saves is awesome. Admins, marketing, operations folks, whoever orders corporate ID has a tremendous weight lifted off their plate as well. So let's get into the case studies. And I'm going to share a couple. Years ago, my old job, I was working with a retail clothing company, and they had 30 locations all around the Philadelphia area. Earl might actually know this store. We were only doing one item for them manually, and that was 5-part forms, and that was for their purchase orders. So we were able to get a meeting with the decision maker to demo an e-store, and no joke, their eyes really opened wide. And about 2 months later, on an e-store, we had their lanyards, we had more forms, we had labels, sign backers, and a total of about $75,000 of annual business. So previously, before the e-store, their COO had personally been ordering print for years. So one of the key reasons they moved forward was we were able to put almost all of their print on the site for their stores. The COO didn't have to manually place orders anymore, but yet was able to still monitor their spend via our approval process for the order. Now, the next two examples are from my time at Navitor. The first is a customer who services a very large property management company, and each location has a different template. So we have now roughly 40 business card templates on the site, all of which look very different. We were also able to add envelopes, appointment cards, and tote bags on the site, and that site is averaging about 30 orders a month. And all our customer does, as Stephanie said just in the chat, just sits back and relax and collects money. Who wouldn't want that, right? The final example is a very large national construction company with 800 sites, all of which need some kind of print product produced through Navator. And this is one of the larger sites we have. And we ran into a really unique obstacle we had to overcome, and it was shipping. So the end user wanted to use their third-party shipping number, which was fine. However, each department had their own FedEx number. And I didn't even know we could do this. We were able to create an open field for shipping for each orderer to manually input their shipping number. And we had to do that in order to get this site up. And again, I really know we could do it. So it leads me into my final point before I close is support. So our team of account specialists been doing a lot of these. We do hundreds of flash appraisals a year. And if we know a lot of, we can really answer your questions, but if we don't know, we have a team of project managers here that seriously know anything and everything and can accommodate mostly any requests that we get. So in closing, if in sort of one closing sentence, what is a Navatorre eStore? eStores can be an incredible asset to your business and to your qualified customers because it'll save time, it'll make ordering easy, and most important, as Erica said, it'll keep your customers with you. That's all I have for you guys. Back to Stephanie.
All right, perfect. All right, there are about 1 million questions in the chat, so we are going to address more of those. Jill's getting them in the chat, and then we'll talk about them more. Definitely lots of questions around the fees, so we will go through that, okay? With the kind of the next steps, like we were talking about with this flash appraisal process, I think one of the things that's just really important to understand is just, the reason we're putting in some of these qualification requirements, these dollar requirements, is really to protect you, protect us, because there is a cost to developing and maintaining these stores. And so the example that Harris is giving, or the 3 examples that Harris is given, those are not outliers. They're not out of the norm. Those are very normal examples of sites and different stores. And Harris has, Harris himself, and then we have, scores of different examples like this. The industry is hundreds, millions, I don't know, but thousands and thousands of examples like this out in the wild. So there's definitely a lot for, a lot of opportunity in this area. Harris, is that right though? I mean, this is not, you didn't just pull like the 3 most lucrative sites.
Not at all. In fact, I would say the second one isn't in fact too lucrative. I could have probably taken hours of all of your time going through the e-stores that I've set up in my career here. And they're all kind of the same, and yet they're all kind of different uniquely. So there's plenty of qualified customers out there that are currently ordering manually that can use this e-store, and you just won't lose them ever.
Yeah, I agree. So that's so that is kind of leads us then to the materials, right? And so I think some of your questions are probably going to be able to be answered through these materials. So Jill has provided the link in here. So I wanted to just kind of show you the landing page. So this is the landing page where we've got a lot of good information that you've seen today. Now, one of the tricks here for some of our folks that are really into social or email, whatever it might be, you can just right click and copy these images. Nothing says Navitor. You can add your own links on this. There's a lot of different opportunities for you to use these materials. These are GIFs, animations, same thing there. You can download these and use these in your own emails or on your social sites. Nothing says Navitor. This can all be yours. So it's just kind of an easy high-level view of the details behind a store. We also then have links to your flash appraisal, so you can go to that. The store, the site that, or the website, oh my gosh, I keep saying that wrong. The video, sorry, that Harris was sharing, that's on here as well. And again, that can be downloaded. You can just Google search how to download a video from YouTube and use that as your own, or use the link there. It is on our Navitor channel on YouTube, so that does have a little bit of a connection to us, but again, you can download this and use it as your own. We also have a couple of materials that I think are really helpful. So the FAQs are the most accessed information for the company e-store. And so with this one, then what I would say is this is the top 10 questions. We also have questions by product. We have questions by order management kind of style to really give you the details and make you feel a lot more secure in your knowledge about what an e-store does and the details behind it, how it all flows. So that's all there as well. And then we also have the typical costs are down here too. So we have the fees outlined, so you have a very clear idea of exactly what Harris was going through with you today. Okay. And so those are our resources. And so I think what we can do is move into our frequently asked questions and start going in that direction. So let's see if I'm at the right time. So let's start there. So the first question that I'm going to go through is what items can I add to my company store? And they also said, why only 10 products do we start with? So Harris, maybe you want to start with that one?
Yeah, the short answer is anything Navitor produces, anything. Every possible product we have. If you're new to Navitor, if you're not currently a reseller with us, if you go on Navatorcom, you would be able to, we can get you a free account and no obligation to purchase, and you'll be able to look at all the products that Navitor has. Anything on Navator.com we can produce. We also do have the ability to create custom SKUs. So for instance, let's just say you have a customer and they use a, I don't know, a 130-pound silk stock. And that is not a paper stock that Navitor houses. We can still get that paper and we can produce a custom SKU for you. So as long as Navitor produces it, we can put it on the site.
Yeah. And to the question of why only 10 products, actually that includes most of the company stores. So usually branded product stores only have, I don't know, what is the average, Harris? Like 2, 3, 4? I mean,
yeah, it's not many.
It's
If
not
you have a
usually a ton.
customer that has more than 10, that would be pretty substantial.
Yeah.
You know, most of the stores that I've set up in my time are corporate ID stores and with some marketing materials and forms.
Mhm.
If you have a very large customer that you have all the print business for, that'd be pretty awesome, and we can obviously talk to you about that.
Right. Because even in your examples here, this is like 5 or 6 products. This one had under 5. I mean, you usually don't have a lot of products. So just to kind of put everyone's mind at ease, it really is supposed to be inclusive when you're setting up these stores. Not that someone can't have tons and tons of products. It's just not usually that way. They usually have, a couple of different variety of business cards. Sometimes they'll have a variety of flyers. So maybe a dealership might have corporate flyers, but then each location can type in their own name. And that leads me to the second question. So there's a question about what are static fields? What does that mean, static versus variable? So I think let's kind of go through that, Harris.
Yeah, and I just want to add something real quick
Sure.
to what you said before about the 10 products.
Yeah.
If a customer orders like a brochure and they order 5,000 brochures a year, but they order it once, you may not want to put that on the e-store, right? The whole idea of the 10 products is that these products are going to be ordered by individual users with your end user, right? So if there's one orderer and they're ordering only a couple times a year for a static product, you don't necessarily need to put that on the e-store. And then as far as static and variable, so just an example would be if you have a business card, the email address is typically static because every employee typically has the same email. Although sometimes there are customers that have multiple brands, so they would have a drop down for that email address. They could have multiple email addresses, like with different companies. Another example of a drop down would be if a customer has 5 locations and they can choose what address is on there. But if you have a customer, 2,000 employees and they all work at home, and for whatever reason they want to put their home address on there, that would be a variable field, right? So variable is completely open. Drop down is you have a couple of options, and static is it's on there and it's not going to change.
Yep. Okay, that was good. So if there's any more questions to it, like put it in the chat there and we'll definitely get back to you on that one. So there were a couple of questions around the demo. So is there a demo that we can give to the reseller that they can use then with their customer? So we have number 1, the video that we put out there that is a good overview of the different options and features with the site. But Harris, why don't you kind of talk through like how you go through sharing the demo?
Yeah, so during our flash appraisal, we can show a brief demo. Mostly the flash appraisal is about qualifying your customer, but then we also have a demo as well that we can send you that you would be able to log in and you would be able to show your customer live. It's actually the same demo that we played on the video. So I do also want to point out nowhere on the demo or nowhere on the e-store will your customer ever know that Navitor is actually producing this. The e-store is completely branded in your customer's name, or can also be co-branded with you and your customer. It's just the order goes right to us. So that's one of the unique things that I would definitely like to highlight.
Right. Right. So, okay. So I think that helps to understand that. There's a lot of questions around the fees. So let's kind of touch on that. So the first question is, when a client spends the first $1,000, are the licensing fees waived forever or just that year? You want to take that, Harris? Or you want me to take that one?
You can take that one.
Okay. So every year we're doing an assessment. Did the $1,000 get reached? And then we're waiving the fees. So yes, pretty much most sites do hit the $1,000 every year and then don't pay that licensing fee. Okay, so most sites are not waiving that or are not paying that fee, but no, it's not really waived forever. You do have to qualify for it every year.
Yep. And Steph, can I add something real quick?
Yeah. Go ahead.
When I was at my other job, we used to have a retail spend of $10,000, and I'm not saying that should be you can by all means tell your customers anything you'd like, but these are made for customers that are going to be placing a decent amount of orders, right? So I would say that if you're worried about the 1,000, it would be a really good idea to have to schedule a flash appraisal with one of us so that we can kind of go into it. When you talk about number of employees, number of locations, number of products, and you can also add even number of expected orders a month, we can actually do that math for you. Be like, hey, like, you know, you're on the fringe, you're not really sure if this is something you want to do. Be like, oh, of course, they have 1,000 employees. Like, come on, they're gonna hit $1,000. They might do $1,000 a month. So you know, we're here to help you with that.
Yeah. Good. There's some questions around the products again. So can you change the retail pricing? Can you know, how often do you have control of that? So yes, you can. I don't know, Harris, do you want to add any details around that one?
Yeah, we will put your retail pricing on the site, or you can also choose to hide it. On Navator.com, if you go into your settings, there's actually a feature on there. It says show wholesale pricing or show suggested retail pricing. So the typical markup for our products are somewhere between 30 and 50%. You can change retail pricing anytime you'd like. Typically that doesn't happen too much, but you can.
Yep, but you can. And then on the eStore site, you control your retails. We'll give you suggestions, but we can control those.
Right. I'm sorry, Steph. That's what I meant. The suggested prices for the products are on there. So if you were unsure what to charge, that's a good resource for you. And then we can, you know, lower, raise, whatever you need on your site for you.
Perfect. Yep. Perfect. We're also almost out of time. We've got a few more questions though. So one of the questions is about, is there dedicated sales reps? How do you qualify to get a rep? So there's a lot of sites, there's a lot of accounts that we do have reps for you. And when you start getting into the e-store discussions, we will assign someone to you to work you through that process. Harris is one of our folks. We have a variety of folks who can manage through that flash appraisal process and kind of get your e-store going. And then we would work with you throughout that whole process. So typically the process takes about 4 to 6 weeks. It depends really how ready those artwork files are. That's a pretty big part of the process. And usually that's on your side or the client side to provide that artwork. So that's usually what takes the longest. Harris, anything else you'd want to add about just kind of setup and
I do.
Your connection to us? Yeah, go ahead.
Proofs take long. So if your customer wants hard copy proofs, we can do that for you. That definitely takes some more time. And another thing that can add time, just full discretion, is the lapse of time, because communication goes from our project managers to doing it to then through your rep, through you, through your customer. So that email exchange or communication exchange, that can add some time. What I can tell you in my experience here is that the more we get information up front, the faster everything goes. Right.
Yep, that sounds good. Okay. One of the last questions I have then, I think this is a good question. So these are customer branded stores, right? And so it's not a single order portal for us. So like Erica, I remember you were showing me, in your sort of side hustle there, like you have a portal, you can order, you can manage your addresses, all that kind of stuff. You had kind of a neat option there. This though is different. It is not for you to sell your products to all customers. This is for you to sell to one customer. So you have one customer who's sort of large enough that needs a branded store, and then their employees might go to that store and buy those business cards directly. Okay, so I want to be really clear of that. This is the kind of store, everything is branded. So Harris, maybe you want to give another example, like from maybe the clothing store or something like that, just to kind of walk them through like who's ordering, or whichever one of your case studies.
I'm sorry, Stephanie, who ordered? I was just answering Margaret's question. Is it?
Oh, sorry, you were typing. Okay.
No, you're fine. Is the question, who
is
typically orders?
Portals, and then there's like what we're talking about with an e-store, with a company e-store.
A company e-store versus a portal,
like where the reseller would buy all their products, which is more like Navator.com.
Yeah, we are typically talking about the Navator e-store is one customer, one store. The branded store where it's your branding and all of Navator products, Stephanie, I don't believe we are actually offering that anymore, right?
Right, that's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
It would just be Navatorre.com. So
Yep.
Paul is asking, I think this is a good clarifying question. So Paul is asking, to clarify, I have a client that has 200 factories across the US. Would each location need a store,
No.
or can they all order from one store?
Yeah, it would be, we would most likely, with 200 factories, you're talking about a lot of employees. We would most likely want to batch upload all of the users, or they can just register. There's an unlimited amount of users that can order. I guess the real question is, Paul, if you had, if you wanted to set up a store where all of your customers could order, that's not what we're talking about, right? The store is branded for this client that has the 200 factories, where they would go in and they would be able to order their custom products. So yeah, it would just be one store. Absolutely.
Yep. Okay. Yep. I think that makes sense. I think folks are getting that. So, okay, that sounds really good. So, let's see, Jill, did I miss any questions out there that we should go through? Oh, I did. I can see one. So shipper numbers, Harris, I know that can get a little tricky, and this is like one of the top most asked questions is around shipper numbers. Can you just go over that one again?
Yeah. We can use your shipping number, your customer shipping number, which I strongly recommend, or we can bill shipping. Typically, it's one shipping number per site. But as I said in my example, we can actually have an open field for numbers if there's different departments or different billing codes that your customer has.
Yep.
The only caution there is that if you miss a number or whatever, that can cause delays. So it's one of those things where if it were me, I would tell the customer it's one shipping number and see if they kind of push back on that. But yeah, we can have an open field for the shipping number for UPS or FedEx. Yep. And how does pricing structure work? If Mr. Miller, if you're talking about the fees, we've gone over that, but as far as the pricing for the products, it is you can find the pricing on nav.com, and then we could also provide any quotes to you. There is no additional charge per product for the store.
Okay. And then Megan is asking a question about integrations with Shopify. So this is not an integration. So if you already have a Shopify account, for example, this is not an integration. This is a full e-commerce site. So in other words, just like what Harris was showing you, you look at your products, you personalize your products, and you check out. So the whole process is one thing. This is not an integration. So, separately, we do have integrations, and yes, we do integrate to Shopify. Those are very large accounts. So if you have a customer that you're doing around $250,000 in business with, so these are very large. These, we do, I don't know, about 20 of these a year. These are not necessarily like everyday accounts, right? Then those are a different process. Still go through the same flash appraisal. So Megan, if that's kind of where you're at, is you have this large customer that they're doing business with you, we can definitely set up integrations, and then that automates the entire ordering process. Again, Navitor is not a front facing part to that customer, but we can do a lot of options there. So that's a much bigger account. So just clarifying, two different offerings, and today's offering is really the one that most distributors are utilizing. Good. Okay. Looks like that answered Megan's question. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So this is a sales kind of question. I think I'll do this last one here because I know we're almost out of time. So the decision maker, Michael, is asking, at major corporations are not easy to reach. How do you propose reaching them? And when he's dealing with a single employee at a corporation. So this is such a common example. I mean, one everybody deals with, not even just unique to the print industry. So Harris, you want to give your best advice? And then Erica, I'll ask your advice there too.
If they're ordering manually, do a demo with that employee and see if you can get any internal referrals. I mean, I've been in sales long enough, and getting decision makers at a high level is definitely the hardest part of sales. I mean, it's almost like it's almost like all of sales. So that's kind of
the whole job.
Yeah. I mean, full honesty, I worked for a really large company, and we didn't just do print. So getting in front of decision makers was easy for me, only because we already had an existing relationship with other products. So it was not as hard as it would be for a lot of smaller companies. But it's when you have a manual order and you know that there's an opportunity for an e-store, is just trying to share the demo and get referrals. I mean, that's probably the thing. And Jason also asked a question about cards and postcards or a list of products. There is on our website, we have marketing materials that show our top products, but just to sort of summarize it in 3, it is corporate ID, marketing materials, and forms. That's kind of the wheelhouse of Navitor's products, really. Anything we do, because we do more than that, but that's, I would say, what you'll find most on e-stores.
Right. And we have it on that landing page too. I just highlighted it there to be very specific about them. Those are the ones that are going to be the most popular for you.
Yep.
Too.
And thank you. I always forget about name badges.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like number 1, number 2, number 1, number 2, depends on which how long you report those reports, but yeah.
That's why I'm embarrassed that I don't mention name badges.
That's okay. All right, Erica, your words of wisdom around reaching those decision makers. Any creative ideas you found?
Sometimes it just means kind of going differently in your network, maybe too. And sometimes, maybe going through LinkedIn and really just kind of seeing if there's other people that you can, reach outside the traditional, calling up somebody or, going through someone that you already know there. And, so sometimes that works too, is just sending a friendly message through LinkedIn. Maybe they'll be there. So that has worked for me.
Yeah. I guess I'd like to answer it too. So my best answer too is sometimes it's hard to figure out who is who and who is the actual decision maker. But kind of along with the LinkedIn thing, and with what Harris is saying, is getting referrals. A lot of times you can use LinkedIn and figure out who's manager and then whose manager is the manager, and you can kind of work your way up the chain. You might be making some guesses, but it might narrow it down to 2 or 3 individuals that then you can either start to message directly or start to ask for by name. Is this the person that might be, interested in a product like this? I think good questions are also, what would your business look like if you had gotten this a year ago? I mean, sometimes just kind of asking questions that gets your contact thinking and can bring that forward to their manager, but finding those names are really important. And LinkedIn is a really good resource sometimes to just do a little stalking and figure out names that are associated with the person you're talking to. So those would be probably our top 3 recommendations there. Okay, so I think that is pretty much it. Gosh, thank you guys so much for so many good questions. Your time today is really valuable. We know you've given up other things to do this today. We will send out a recording, so that'll come out this afternoon, and it'll have all the links that we've shared with you here today. Don't forget the survey. This is going to pop up as you sign off. Please do fill that out. That gives us a lot of feedback for future webinars, and to see if we'll give Harris a 4th one or not. Thank you for all of your time today, and to our speakers then for your pro tips, your experience. Really appreciate those. Thank you, everyone. So we know you guys are spread thin. You guys have a lot going on. So make sure to look for all those good tools that we have today. And I think with that, we'll let you go. Here at Navitor, I always love to say, we innovate, you sell, and it's a really good win. So thanks so much, you guys. Have a really wonderful week.